those who threaten us with chaos, turmoil, and terror. We will have no choice but to totally destroy. Major portions of the world are in conflict. If the righteous many do not confront the wicked few, then evil will triumph. When decent people and nations become bystanders to history, the forces of destruction only gather power and strength. I want to thank China and Russia for joining the vote. All responsible nations must work together to confront terrorists.
Work with our allies in Asia, in Europe, in the Middle East, and elsewhere.
A new world order.
Actions which threaten the international order.
Denuclearization is its only acceptable future.
Большую озабоченность вызывают и некоторые положения обновленного обзора ядерной стратегии США, в котором расширяются возможности снижения и снижается порог применения ядерного оружия. И кулуарно можно кого угодно и как угодно успокаивать, но мы читаем то, что написано. А написано так, что она может быть пущена в ход в ответ на удары обычными вооружениями или даже на киберугрозу. Нет, с нами никто по существу не хотел разговаривать. Нас никто не слушал. Послушайте сейчас.
Conflict, disruption, violated.
We're in very serious trouble because we have a country with tremendous numbers of nuclear warheads.
核武器是悬在人类头上的达摩克利斯之剑，应该全面禁止并最终彻底销毁，实现无核世界。大国要尊重彼此核心利益和重大关切，管控矛盾分歧，努力构建不冲突、不对抗、相互尊重、合作共赢的新型关系。
Dear fellows and citizens on this earth, please do not be scared and be patient, because you have the opportunity to watch some of the best evidence for the existence of the extraterrestrials all around us on our short documentaries. That evidence derives the simple facts associated by multiple filming and photographic evidence that the extraterrestrials move and fly around our Earth, and they are using our moon as their base for their long trips through space, because we are for them still not enough developed at such a high level to negotiate with us as equals, and our Earth and solar system are for the extraterrestrials a junction point. We do not know exactly the agenda of such a civilization of extraterrestrials, who are being stationed on our moon, but it seems that our superpowers know much more than us, but for certain reasons always the disclosure of such evidence it has been only circumstantial, because our superpowers are busy with their other domestic issues, and they are straining with the international relations on our Earth due to differentiated mentalities of different segments of the political elites of different countries on this Earth. In the meantime, it is imperative to all of us to try and understand each other better and to respect and to evaluate properly each points of view and to use the scientific research to improve our understanding and not to fight each other, because innocent people suffer. Thus, we need to convince each other for the improvement of our mentalities not through force or arrogance, but through diplomatic negotiations and use of the development of technology only for good purposes, in order to serve the improvement of life of each human being on our Earth. Most of you have watched other documentaries, even from other serious sources, which clearly show the same patterns of the extraterrestrials, that they are hiding and showing themselves to us, as the extraterrestrials decide. Still we do not know if such a civilization stationed on our moon, it is the same as the ancient Sumerians were describing as Anunnaki or others. You will notice from the clear shape of their flying vehicle landed on the surface of the moon, that they are aliens' vehicles, because their flying vehicle is a type with advanced hexagonal circle shape, equipped with dynamic stripes underneath it, which does not exist on our Earth. The circle hexagonal shape of this flying vehicle, it is the best dynamic shape in the science of geometry. We can mention the Roman scholar and philosopher Marcus Terentius Varro, who lived between 116 BC to 27 BC and wrote among other works about the organizing principles of geometry. He observed that the hexagons possess the highest surface and perimeter ratio, compared to other shapes that can be used for maximum strength associated with maximum space for every spatial construction, and he suggested that honeybees build their hexagonal cells in order to achieve the best rational economy of space and material. So, it seems that our ancestors had knowledge, which we should study further, and not to be snobbed that only we know, because it is gone once and for all the time of the empires on our earth, which were trying to get ownership of everything. If you have watched other filming of other serious sources, which show that sometimes the UFOs join together in a bigger flying vehicle, this can be explained with the general principle of the science of geometry that certain shapes or polygons like triangles or regular hexagons fit together without any gaps, generally 3 hexagons meeting at every vertex, and so are useful for constructing tessellations, which are the gathering of multiple geometric shapes without gaps among them, which gives the flying structure extreme durability, strength, space, and dynamics vortex maneuverability. This is one of the fundamental geometrical principle of cosmos, which is applied even in the nature of our planet Earth, where the cells of a beehive honeycomb are hexagonal for this reason and because the shape makes efficient use of space and building materials. In the ancients' philosophy, the hexagon was the combining of the archetypal values of unity, duality, and trinity integrated within the totality of unified elements to create a perfect durable unit. The unity divides into duality, which is reconciled in the trinity, 1 plus 2, or 2 combining into 1, which is then recombined with duality and unity, either by addition or multiplication. So if we study even simply the correlative relations between the ancient knowledge about tessellations, which are the gathering of multiple geometric shapes without gaps among them, as we watch them today in different ornamental temples around our earth, we will notice the relation between the ancient knowledge transcended to our ancestors in our past by the extraterrestrials, and the geometric shapes of the flying vehicles of the extraterrestrials in our present. This raises always the question, why the scientists around our Earth do not find easy to explain such relations between the knowledge of the predated extraterrestrials, who visited our Earth and our knowledge, because in mathematics, tessellations can be generalized to higher dimensions and a variety of geometries. Then if we mention the concept of the dimension, we certainly know that it is accepted in science that the concept of dimension is not restricted to only physical objects which we perceive near us, because the high-dimensional spaces frequently are experienced in mathematics and in the sciences. Such dimensional spaces are perceived as parameter spaces or configuration spaces, which are the grounds of the statistical and quantum mechanics, which often study the abstract spaces, independent of the actual physical space we live in. Then further, our scientists today are trying to verify the grounds of the cosmological theory as called the string theory. These examples show us the simplicity of how we should perceive our problems, without deviating from the core essentials of evaluating within the logical principles everything around us, in order to avoid confusion and to expand our mind that we are not alone in this cosmos, although we were told before the contrary for the interests of certain political clans and their profits. Our civilization on this earth has been developed through the stroppy behavior of our leaders combined with ignorance, at different times of our history. Like all the Caesars, who brought along pillage and justifying it with change forward, but always through violent force and massive exodus of populations, due to their irrationality of restructuring the economic dominance zones of our earth through brutal force. This is one of the primitive features of our civilization on our earth, that it should not be repeated on our time. But since the end of the Cold War in the 1990s, there are attempts to restructure the economic dominance as a preliminary step through attempts of protectionism, nationalism in the form of fascism or communism, or whatever other name for exit to justify it, which can lead in medium or long terms of time to only unpredictable outcomes, even to nuclear annihilation among smaller states or even superpowers. This shows that our political elites have not learned the lessons of our past, because then certain political clans want to follow the other step of restructuring the political dominance zones on our earth under different justifications of mob populism. So, it happened before the First World War, which did not have anything great at all, but it brought only misery, destruction of immense values and tremendous loss of life of millions of people, because the simple people were recruited and ordered to fight even in the eve of Christmas, which the common people did not obey. The same pattern of our political leaders was repeated before the Second World War, but only with the winning together of all democratic inspiring people around our earth against the darkest political forces known to us. All people hope to vanish forever the risk of repeating such negative pattern of creating conflicts. Such high hopes of inspiring democratic people to bring together all our societies on our earth under the umbrella of the United Nations was materialized in the EU, and other cooperative economic and political agreements like the Marshall Plan in Europe, and ASEAN and NAFTA, and even the Andean Community and Common Market for the Eastern and Southern Africa under the umbrella of the global economics, and the democratic leadership, in order to enhance the best values of our civilization through the United Nations. Such agreements can be improved, but not to be abolished as are some tendencies of today, because these agreements represent the best conscious values of our civilization up to this point of our development. But, the question, which all people around our earth should raise to their leaders is, have we learned from our past or not, in order not to be repeated the suffering and wars as in our past, and when such a democratic discussion takes place, then we should know for sure where we are at the stage of our human development, and who we are, in order to serve better the life on this earth with only peace and love, and to educate our new generations with such memories and lessons of the past, and to plan our future at best as we can, through education and collaborating efforts to improve the technology. The myopathic analyses of our history for different regions on our earth combined with the wrong premises of evaluation of the actual set of circumstances, always has led to forget the lessons of our past, that above all the preparations and use of force, it is not the only and best solution of the sharp problems of our civilization on our earth among different societies of different countries despite being big or small. This is clearly shown in the recent approach in multilateral relations among different states and countries involving smaller or the superpowers on our earth, which are in many cases in the wrong track, because of showing demonstrations of superiority of force without thinking for the complex outcomes in the medium and long term of time and sometimes even in short term. Such rushed approach delivered only on the grounds of the short-term objectives by certain smaller states or countries or even superpowers, it has led to the indirect incited response of other smaller states or countries or even superpowers, in the wrong pathway of developing in secrecy more superior attack militarist systems at the level of hypersonic speed Mach 10 and Mach 20 and even further jumping speed rate, and almost infinite range of distances compared with the smaller scale of our little rock called Earth. Such attack military systems are further associated with electromagnetic defense capabilities and with ring capabilities of pre-eliminary detection and deviating actions of other attack military systems. Such attack militarist technology is used to increase militarist power and influence, because our political leaders and even our scientists forget that it is a better request of time to develop better defense military systems with functions to deactivate the aggressive actions of others' technology, which serves at any time better compared with the attack militarist systems, which cause immense loss of life. For example, certain defense sonar, electromagnetic and light systems, they will provide much better security for our Earth and our civilization in the event of any possible natural or spatial approaching apocalyptic events. This is a much better radical meaning of us for the need of military only for excellent defense and other extended duties to serve better our peace in our Earth and our well-being. Even certain parts of the political elites of different states or even superpowers are using the tactics and strategies of the famous Chicago Boys through alternating of communication means of ridiculing and threatening and even neglecting to take into account the points of opinion of bilateral and multilateral diplomatic negotiations. All the interested parties, in certain developments of different regions of our Earth, they are often hiding behind the emblem of we develop advanced attack technologic militarist systems only for defense, but if others attack us, we will respond accordingly even with nuclear weapons, and so the rest of the states and countries of our Earth are becoming the hostages of such tactics and strategies of certain powers or superpowers on our Earth. From such ignorant and myopathic justifications continue to be sold the attack militarist systems from our powers or superpowers to every state around our Earth, because they think that the fear of such attack militarist system will maintain the peace. Do you think that only the fear is the best protection of peace? Do you think that we should communicate with extraterrestrial civilizations, which are much more developed than us, through showing our military power? It is sad and it brings a lot of flashbacks about the sufferings that innocent people around our earth at different times of our history have suffered, and their efforts to climb the challenging mountains of life on this earth, and their suffering, sometimes it feels like have been in vain because of our ignorance, stubbornness, indifference, forgetfulness, avoidance, and selfishness. But still we have hope, and we see light of a better future because our children, who are the next generation, are better than us in viewpoint of their efforts for better education and to serve our public life with devotion and honesty. The technology of exchanging communication, exchanging cultures, knowledge, and experiences is a great tool for the improvement of education, of younger generations, that helps to be understood much better from them our past, in connection with our best values and faults which are resonating in our present and affecting daily our lives. But at this time of technology, travel, and communication, it is much more imminent that younger generations raise their voice about their opinions in order for them to find sooner their place in the political, economical, social, and cultural life of our civilization, in a global view of exchanging the best values and opinions for the improvement of our security of the future. In contrary, it is indispensable, particularly of the leading superpowers on our earth, that they should show others how to become less threatening and aggressive towards each other on our earth, because this is the only righteous and secure pathway to survive the forthcoming turmoils of time and space where it is located, our earth. It is scary and sad, the examples of our ongoing experience on our earth, where in certain regions the innocent people suffer under the propelled circumstances of proxy wars, which show the infancy of evaluation analyses of premise circumstances associated with lack of flexibility of logical means of diplomacy and negotiation, and the intolerance of attitudes. As a result, our civilization on our earth has entered a dangerous stage that, it is almost at the brink of such options, or to make a giant step towards development and prosperity through collaboration and cooperation of all states and superpowers on our earth under the leadership of the United Nations, as it is shown in the example of the International Space Station and other joint scientific ventures as to eradicate diseases and improve the health and standard of life of every human being, etc. Or to separate away from each other through fanatic nationalism, secrecy, and protectionism, starting with trade or economic wars, and further separating attempts to concur for regional and world dominance on our earth through false promising to the population for the greater world opportunities, which only bring more massive immigration of populations and more complex social and economic problems, associated with unpredictability of the certain doomsday scenarios of atomic war, under the pretexts of exit and failure to manage the contemporary challenges. Or to end up back in time at the primitive age, and to use again the stone tools, after a total apocalypse caused by a human error of using nuclear weapons due to our human folly, which is proved time and again in our hard and delayed development. As always, we are losing time with the adventures of our politicians, who find it hard to learn from our past history.